Hey, it's Eric Scott, and I am here for another episode of Creative Spark Plug. So every week I try to come here and share with you a little nugget, a little thing that will get those creative juices going to get you making and creating. And today I want to share a simple drawing or doodling technique, and I call it coloring pages. Now, it's just a name that I came up with. It's not the best kind of name, but it kind of harks back to that time when coloring books, like adult coloring books, were really, really popular. And I would see those things and I'm like, well, why can't you just make your own? Like, it's just black ink on a white paper. Why it's easy enough to kind of draw or doodle or do something on your by yourself. So I kind of started this not way back whenever the adult coloring books were really popular, but you can still find them around, and folks still find enjoyment with them. But this is a technique that I've used with students, but I've also used it a lot myself. And for me, it's really just a different take on doodling. And so for this, you're just going to need something to draw with and something to draw on. I'm going to use my index cards, some of my favorite materials to use because they're not precious. It's small. I can do a bunch of them. I can do them quickly. And then I'm going to use a drawing pen. I have my Faber-Castell Pitt artist pen. So use whatever you want. I like to use a black pen or a marker. Sharpie works great for this, especially if you're going to work a little bit bigger. But I like the fact that I can't erase it. So I have to live with the marks that I make. So yeah, you could do this larger. I've done it as an idea with students and have shown them how to do this on larger paper. I love doing this in a pocket sketchbook or a small sketchbook as well. And it actually creates a drawing that can be colored in, that you can add color and develop at a later time. And I love working the small ones because then I can glue them into my journal and it becomes part of that process as well. So let's go ahead and get started with this, and we'll flip it over and we'll, like I said, get started. So I've got a little stack of index cards. I won't use these all. Depending on the time, I might just do one or two. I've got my pen. This is a medium tip. That's the one thing I like about the Pitt artist pens or any kind of like drawing pen that comes in different sizes. So this is just the medium size. I think it's get the actual like millimeter size. And then here's an extra small. Probably won't use it, but I have it just in case. So I'm just going to take one of my index cards. And again, think about like the format. Does it go vertical for the portrait format? Does it go horizontal? I tend to work with mine on a vertical. So what really changed this for me? I used to, I doodle all the time. But with this, what really changed it was I added a border. And I don't know what it was about the border. So I'm just going to hand draw. Don't get caught up in, oh, let me get out the ruler and let me make it nice and perfect and straight. Just about a quarter of an inch. I'm going to go all the way around. I kind of got this idea from Linda Berry as far as the border. So with some of her drawing jams, she has her students draw in borders. And I just found that it kind of changed the relationship with the page. So what I'm trying to do is, this is my border. I'm not going to draw in it, but I'm going to draw within this frame and fill this whole space up. And so when I do this, I am just focusing on filling the space. I'm not drawing a picture of something. I am not trying to be representational. So I would say don't draw people or creatures or things. Just start drawing shapes. And I tend to start at the edges. And so, think about what kind of shapes. And they don't have to be regular geometric shapes. They don't have to be things that you can recognize. But I'm starting at an edge and ending at an edge. That's kind of one of the rules. And then, I'm just trying to divide the space. So this inner rectangle, how can I divide it? So with two lines, now I have 1, 2, 3 shapes. And then I want to think about how I can divide those shapes up. Maybe I want to have a rectangle down here. And I always think about repetition. So I have this kind of curvy shape here, and I repeated it over here. I have the rectangle here. So maybe I want to have a rectangle up here. And then to balance it out, maybe I want to have a rectangle over here, but maybe this time it comes all the way down. Okay, so I'm dividing up that space. So my rule isn't that it has to start at an edge and end at an edge. It's just about dividing the space. So I start by starting at an edge, ending at an edge. But like this one, it ended at that shape. So you can do that, or you can think about like, oh, I want to do a circle here, and then maybe I want to do a circle down here, but it's okay if it overlaps the line. So now I have a circle that's divided in half. Maybe I want to have a bigger one up here that does the same thing. So I'm repeating my circles, and now I have a nice triangle with the 3 circles. Helps to kind of divide up the space, helps kind of create some balance. And then I want to divide some of these bigger spaces. So I have this really big space in here. So maybe I want to do some diagonal lines. Just to help kind of divide that up. And so I'm trying to have some bigger spaces. I'm trying to have some smaller spaces as well. And then I just kind of continue that. So I'm just kind of playing around. I'm just trying to kind of keep an eye, like I move my hand back and I look at it and I say, okay, I just did this here. Can I do something similar somewhere else? Maybe down here, I want to do a half a circle that goes around there. But I have a half a circle there, so maybe I need to have a half circle up here, and maybe even one over here. So I'm just dividing up this space. And then once I kind of feel like I've really divided it up and it feels pretty balanced, and then I can start thinking about some smaller details. And this is if I want to switch to a different pen, I can. I'm going to keep the same one, but maybe I'm going to do some stripes. Maybe I want to have some over here. Maybe I want to have this filled with stripes as well. So again, that idea of repetition, just repeating those things 2 or 3 times, sometimes more, but I find 3 times, here I have these 3 spaces and they create that triangle. I've got the circles kind of create a triangle. So yeah, really thinking about now, like kind of just the details that I might add in. Maybe I want to have a thin line that comes around. Maybe there's one over here, again, just to repeat it. Maybe there's a couple little circles. When I do these, for some reason, they start to look very mechanical, like they're part of some kind of machine, maybe like almost like a snapshot out of the factory. But anyway, so I'm looking at this and it's starting to feel pretty even. I think I want to do a semicircle around here. And yeah, so I'm kind of feeling like that's probably pretty good. And I like to sit down and I like to do a number of them. So it's not like, oh, I just do one and then I'm done. I mean, it doesn't take very long. That's another reason I like the small pieces. So then I can do, get another index card and do another one and then another. So maybe do 3 or 4 or 5 of them. It's really easy to kind of do 5 of them when you're working this small. So, but that's it for this technique. All right, so very quick, very easy idea, but I think the key is that border. That border, I don't know what it was like when I first did that. And I started these little, again, I just call them coloring pages or coloring sheets. Coloring pages, I think, is what I'll end up calling it. But it's just that idea that, oh, now I have this little page that I can color in. I can paint it. I can use marker. I can use colored pencil. I can shade, and so I can kind of develop it and work on it even further. But it was that border changed the relationship. I'm so used to not having a border. That's just kind of how I've always worked. And so I always think about like the whole page, and I don't know, that border just changed the dynamic. And so if you haven't done much with borders, I highly recommend trying this. And like I said, don't worry about drawing a picture of something. It doesn't need to be representational. Actually, I think if you take the representation out of it, it's going to be better because you just don't get caught up in like, oh, I'm trying to make this look real, or I'm trying to do this face. If you focus on the space, filling up that space in a visually interesting way, and then do a bunch of them. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. The more you learn about filling up the space, you learn about what you like, what you don't like, what you feel is dynamic. But anyway, so I hope you appreciate this. I hope you enjoyed this little activity, and I hope you do it. And make sure you share it. Share it with your students. Share it with your peers. And don't forget to like and subscribe. So hit that like button, leave me a comment, show me what you're doing or what you've done, and remember, hit subscribe if you like these kind of videos, and I look forward to bringing you more in the future. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in once again for another Spark Plugs, and I'll see you next time. So thank you so much, and as always, happy creating.